Guys, my name is Ernest, and I like to welcome each and every one of us to my channel of Ernest Sciences and Mathematics TV channel. In today's discussion, I'm going to look at an important concept of coordination by macrocyclic molecules. And this basically is going to assist us understand the biological ligands for metals which are going to be involved in formation of various types of important biological complexes. This is going to be particularly following a range of discussions we have had, particularly on bio-inorganic molecules, and it's going to assist us try to identify various types of complexes which are going to be formed by a variety of ions, which we said from our previous video. Now, the given general equation for the reaction between a metal and a ligand given using this concept of an acid-base kind of a reaction. And from our previous discussion, I had mentioned that basically it's going to be involving some set of a Lewis acid that is going to be reacting with a Lewis base to form this specific acid-base combination. And therefore, this is going to be giving us what we refer to as biological complexes, which are going to be very relevant in various types of activities that we're going to be seeing, specifically biochemical reactions. Now, in a sense, we're going to see that we had done a classification of various types of bioligands from previous videos, and we said that we are going to consider the important bioligands that we're going to be having in our discussion, particularly for proteins or peptides. And we also said that we're going to consider nucleobases as part of our ligands. And lastly, we talked about the concept of these specific macrocyclic ligands. Macrocyclic ligands. In our previous video, we talked about the concept of coordination via proteins. And this, of course, gave us specific, of course, examples which, of course, assisted us try to show how we can have particularly a metal plus an amino acid combination, which basically is going to result in the metal amino acid complex, which is going to be given as such. And we're given various examples of this specific description, which we had, of course, illustrated on our board. And therefore, that's going to be assisting us try to find a basis for us in trying to basically try to look at that one in collaboration with a coordination by macrocyclic molecules. Now, the difference between the coordination of metals with these amino acids and macrocyclic molecules, therefore, is going to be assisting us try to see how these specific processes are going to be relevant, especially in formation of various complexes, which we are going to be particularly giving in terms of examples. Now, in our previous video, I had mentioned that there is going to be a concept of selectivity, whereby different metal ions are going to be bound by various types of amino acids, particularly in this specific case. And we shall, of course, try to investigate whether this is going to be the case for macrocyclic molecules, and of course, which basically is going to assist us differentiate between the coordination by amino acids and the macrocyclic molecules. Now, given a range of amino acids and the metal ions which are going to be selectively bound by these specific ions, and I'd like to encourage our members to kindly visit our various types of course, descriptions boxes, which we are going to be putting some links in terms of a playlist. They're going to consist of these specific types of videos, which are going to be assisting us understand these various types of concepts that I've mentioned. Now, basically, if we talk about the concept of macrocyclic molecules, so these are going to be molecules. Now, this basically are going to be molecules. If we try to look at this specific term, literally it's going to be consisting of macro, referring to as large in terms of a size. A cyclic, these are going to be rings or some kind of ring systems which are going to be formed in terms of which are different from the aliphatic. Now, in our discussion of the concept of different types of organic compounds, we talked about aliphatic and cyclic. So therefore, these are going to be cyclic in nature, and they're going to be large molecules given as such. So therefore, these are going to be referred to as tetrapyrols, which we are going to be specifically discussing concerning this specific case, which can be given in terms of tetrapyrols. So I'm describing them as tetrapyrols, which are going to be, of course, consisting of a set of what we refer to as a four. And therefore, we are going to expect that they are going to be having some of the description which we have given in this specific case that is consisting of particularly what we refer to as four ligands. for ligands which are going to be bound to a central metal, of course, ion, which we're going to use, particularly using a specific example. Now, they are going to be tetradentate ligands, which specifically means that, so first let's have them given as such. So we shall have this one given as the tetrapyrols, which are going to be, of course, tetradentate macromolecules, which we were going to be particularly describing using these specific terms that I've given as such. So first, I've said that they are going to be what we refer to as tetrapyrols. And from our previous discussions on the concept of pyrols, these are going to be a class of particularly organic compounds, which we are going to see, which are going to be heterocyclic organic compounds. And of course, from this specific concept in our study of heterochemistry, we have talked about these specific compounds which are going to be consisting of hetero molecules like, of course, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. And this is going to be assisting us try to identify these specific types of heteropyrols, which, of course, are just pyrols, which we are going to mention. So the concept of tetra is going to be referring to as 4, and therefore these are going to be assisting us try to identify the various structures which we are going to come across. And in this case, the tetradentate refers to ligands that bind 4 donor atoms to a center, or specifically a metal. And in this case, we're going to be looking at a specific example, which we can give in terms of perhaps this specific description for the porphyrin ring. Now, in our last discussion, I mentioned that basically we can have this particular porphyrin ring given in terms of different, of course, we can just give this specific geometry for the ligands. So this is going to consist of a nitrogen or amine, which are going to be given as such a nitrogen, and the various types of bonds which we're going to see, whereby we're going to have this one coordinated to a single and a double bond together with this one. But this one is going to consist of a single bonds in these various structures. Now, I'm not going to draw the full structure of this specific type of porphyrin ring, but we're going to see that these specific sections are going to be consisting of another set of organization for various types of carbon, of course, a set of carbon, of course, atoms which are going to be arranged. And I'd also like to request our members to kindly check our previous videos which we have done on the concept of bio-inorganic chemistry for us to understand the same. So this is going to be a center that's going to be of interest, whereby we're going to see that if we had this specific type of coordination for a metal center, then therefore we are going to expect this one to be at this particular point, whereby this is going to be coordinating with the metal center using this specific, of course, arrangement, whereby the metal center is going to be coordinated using those specific types of center, which we can give using those specific types of illustration. Now, in a sense, we are going to be giving these ones in particular details, but these macrocyclic molecules are going to be given in terms of different types, depending on the metal center, which is going to be attached to this specific, of course, ring system which I've given. So one of the examples of these specific macromolecules which I've given in terms of this example is porphyrin, and therefore we shall look at 2 extra examples which are going to be we are going to be coming across in our subsequent discussions, especially which are going to be important bio-inorganic molecules which I've particularly mentioned. So the first example which I've given in terms of an illustration is a porphyrin ring. And next we shall look at a chlorine, of course, which is going to be a macrocyclic molecule, which is going to be, of course, a tetrapyrrole and a tetradentate, as I've said. And of course, we're going to also to look at this specific chlorine, which also we're going to look at this specific points. So in a sense, we're going to be, of course, describing the structures of these specific types of molecules, and the places which they are going to be, or the various, of course, sites which we are going to be expecting them to be found. Now, for the first one, which is going to be consisting of this porphyrin ring. Now, in case we have a metal which is going to be attached at the center given as such, then therefore, if this specific metal is going to be given as an ion, then this type of complex which is going to be formed from this specific combination is going to be given as a hemoglobin. And we have come across this specific term in our various studies on the concept of biology, especially on the, of course, circulatory system, which is going to be described using one of the aspects of hemoglobin. Now, in this specific case, we're going to have this macrocyclic molecule consisting of an ion center referred to as hemoglobin. Now, there are various types of metals which are going to be attached for these two other types of these macrocyclic molecules, and these are going to be found, as we said, particularly in the human circulatory system, which is going to be contained in blood. So this is going to be a constituent of blood, basically, which is going to be having this specific type of coordination metal given as such. So for chlorine, this is going to be found in what we refer to as chlorophyll. And in this specific description of the term chlorophyll, we have come across it, especially in the, of course, nutrition in plants, whereby we are going to have this specific type of macrocyclic molecule consisting of a pigment, of course, that is going to be responsible for what we refer to as a photosynthesis. And this is going to be a light energy trapping kind of a pigment, which is going to be, of course, assisting plants to manufacture their food in terms of the, of course, in this specific process which we refer to as a photosynthesis. Now, therefore, we shall look at this specific process in details in our subsequent videos. But of essence for us to notice that this specific macrocyclic molecule is going to be essential for this specific, of course, kind of a process that we have referred to this. And this is going to be achieved if this metal center is going to be consisting of magnesium, of course, ion. So therefore, this macrocyclic molecule that is going to be coordinated to a magnesium, of course, ion is going to be consisting of this specific kind of chlorophyll, which is going to be a green coloring, which is going to be a green, of course, pigment that is responsible for photo trapping of light energy for the process of photosynthesis. And then we shall look at another type of course, this is specific form, which is going to be perhaps in terms of, I can just give this one, chlorine. So if the metal center, which is going to be formed by this chlorine kind of this specific ligand, or a macrocyclic molecule, is going to be consisting of particularly the ion of zinc at the center, then therefore this is going to be referred to as chlorine, that we're going to also come across in various types of discussions as we are going to look at particularly the concept of this specific coordination in terms of their particular, of course, descriptions. Now, the last one which I gave in terms of example of this important macrocyclic molecules is choline. And this specific choline is contained in what we refer to as cobalamin. And this cobalamin is basically vitamins B12, as we are going to be coming across in our various discussions. So we shall have this one given in terms of vitamins B12 given as such, and we shall discuss this one as well in details in some of our videos which we are going to be doing. Now, these are going to be some of the, of course, the tetra-dentate ligands which we are going to come across that consist of porphyrin, chlorine, and chlorine, and the various types of metal, of course, which we are going to see being coordinated using those specific types of microcyclic, of course, molecules. Now, these microcyclic molecules are going to be linked using covalent bonds, as I have said, and they are going to be, of course, bound to various types of proteins as cofactors, along with the metal ions which I've given. Now, the various types of complexes which are going to be formed through this combination are going to be very important bioinorganic compounds. Now, in our next video, I shall look at the example of the various inorganic compounds which are going to be consisting these tetrapyrols, and try to see some of their specific either ways in which they are going to be formed, how they can be perhaps, or the way in which we can describe them in terms of their formation, and some of the specific metal centers which they are going to be consisting, and how they're going to be relevant in our day-to-day applications. So kindly check our description boxes for various links of other videos, engage us in the comment section, and also ring that notification bell for various updates on different discussions in math and sciences. So that is it for now, guys. Bye, God bless you. Catch us in our next video.